The countdown is on to Election Day. Early voting has already started, so I guess you could say it's kind of the extended Election Day already in progress. But this is the time where candidates get desperate, and the mud starts getting flung all over the place, and dirty tricks and so on down the line. We're going to talk about that today here on This Week in Evansville. I'm Johnny Kincaid. Thanks for making us part of your day today. Be sure that you share us, like us, comment on the show, and do all of those things so that not only you get informed about upcoming episodes, but also we get more people that get exposed to this material because we believe that the more information you have, the better the outcome is going to be in the elections. We're not here about trying to talk to people about who they should vote for. You know, how you vote is not the issue. It's that you go into vote with some information so that you're making an informed decision as opposed to just kind of checking the boxes, right? Primaries are important. It determines who from the party is going to move forward in political office. And, you know, there's always been, even in the primary process, there have always been a certain amount of dirty tricks played, you know, mudslinging that takes place, name calling, all of that stuff. I mean, it's been around since politics came around, to be really honest with you. It's never been a really clean game. You know, I will take Lincoln's election in 1860 to President of the United States. Abraham Lincoln had run for Congress prior to that. His congressional run was, well, it was pretty nasty. There was some name calling that took place in that run for Congress. And then when Lincoln ran for president, and name calling and all of that just kind of continued on. You know, so the other candidates were making fun of his lack of experience, for one thing, his looks. One newspaper quoted somebody as saying that Lincoln was a horrid-looking wretch. There's a great image for you of the future president, a horrid-looking wretch. You know, they made fun of the size of his ears and his nose and all of those things. And it was just kind of nasty all the way through. And then you had, of course, the division between North and South lining up at the time as well. So that election was really hot. And 80% of the voters, 80% showed up at the polls on Election Day. No early voting. They showed up on Election Day, 80%. That's just amazing. Wouldn't it be great to have those kind of numbers in a world where, you know, we're seeing in last year's city elections, 20 to 25% show up. So people went out on that election, and Lincoln won, but he didn't win with a majority of the vote. Lincoln won with 40% of the popular vote. But he got enough votes in the Electoral College that he had the majority and thereby won the election for President of the United States. It's always been the case, though, that there have been people campaigning negatively, and those negative campaigns don't always mean that that person's going to lose just because somebody's saying bad things about him. But it makes the whole politics just gets so messy, and I'd love to see it settle down a little bit more so that people get a chance to really find out who the candidate is and what they believe in. You know, we started doing these programs a year ago because we wanted to give candidates the opportunity to share who they are, what they believe, and put their best pitch out there to get the interest of the voters. And that's why we're still around now. It's because we want to give people the opportunity to have that longer exposure with the candidates. And we're continuing to line them up. Suzanne Crouch is coming on with us. Curtis Hill is on the way. Jamie Rittenauer has also been talking to us about a date for an interview. So we're working on getting all of the candidates for governor in one way, shape, or form to come in and do interviews with us, and also working on the 8th District congressional candidates as well. And we'll throw in some local candidates while we're at it there. But I want to talk about what you need to look out for here as the election is starting to heat up and things get really kind of ugly on the campaign front. So the first thing is those TV ads that you see. You know, people are making decisions based on 30-second campaign ads, and I hate that, because I really think that you have to hear more than that little soundbite on that television ad in order to really make a good decision on who's going to be running our country or our state, for all that goes. And what they like to do with the TV ads is, first of all, a PAC, which is a group that is not directly connected to the candidate. They gather up a whole bunch of money, and then they buy ads, and usually the PAC are the ones who buy the attack ads. So they do that so that the candidate can say, hey, I had nothing to do with those nasty, ugly ads that appeared. It wasn't my fault. And the PAC goes in and just really hammers other candidates. It's been going on forever, and it'll still probably be going on down the road from now. So here's what you watch for is, first of all, it's that you're watching TV, and suddenly on comes the ominous music. Usually there's kind of a black background or a dark tint to everything that appears on the screen, and those grainy black and white images show up on there, and then you're told that this candidate is Satan. And you're like, wow, I can't vote for them. That's the idea of those ads. So, and it's happening now. It's happening here in local politics, and I'll share one with you right now.
What kind of Republican votes against supporting Israel? John Hostetler did. Hostetler was one of only 9 Republicans who voted not to condemn terrorism. You can read it here. And John Hostetler voted against giving aid to Israel over and over again.
All right, so the anti-Hostetler ad, you know, they've used all the normal tricks, and it's an expensive ad. They're spending a lot of money on those ads. As a matter of fact, it makes you wonder, where is the money coming from? Let me answer that on the case of these particular attack ad that you just saw. That money is coming from the Walton family of Walmart fame. And for some reason, in Bentonville, Arkansas, they are so upset with John Hostetler that they're willing to put millions of dollars into a PAC to make sure that John Hostetler doesn't win this election. It's politics today. Sadly, it's politics today. But watch out for those ads. Don't fall for it, okay? And this isn't about me. I'm not defending Hostetler. I'm not defending anything other than just sharing the information with you that you don't want to pay attention to that ad. Instead, you want to pay attention to A, what's his real voting record? Look it up. And B, what kind of person is he? What's his character? And have you heard him saying things that get you inspired, that make you feel like, hey, we can do better in America if this guy's in there? That's the way to look at all of that. We've got 8 candidates that are running for this 8th district congressional seat. 8 Republican candidates. There are 4 Democrat candidates running as well. But in Indiana, because this is such a Republican district, the high likelihood is whoever wins in the primary will likely win in the general election. So it's kind of put everything into trying to win this primary. And honestly, we've got some people of faith. We've got some people who are genuinely good people running for this congressional seat. And you, as a voter in this congressional district, you've got a tough choice to make for the primary election. So I'm just going to keep encouraging you to get more information. Look at what they have to say, what they stand for, what they believe, what they've done, and what they say they're going to do. Follow all of that, and then follow the money. As soon as campaign finance reports are made available, which is going to be really close to Election Day, we're going to make those available to you here on the show, because we want you to understand who is funding these candidates. And we want to get as much of that info to you as well. Here's the other technique. It's the direct mail piece. Have you seen these direct mail pieces coming into your mailbox? I mean, some of them do a good job. You know, Richard Moss sends out a campaign mailer that's all about him, and it actually carries a little information on it. But so often, those direct mail pieces are being used to just go after the other candidate in such a nasty way, because you know what? We don't ever investigate whether what we're looking at that just came out of our mailbox is true or not. We don't. So because we don't check into it, they get away with saying whatever it is that they want. And then they substantiate that with a little footnote about where their source is of that particular thing. To give you an example, there was a mailer sent out by the Amy Canterbury campaign about Cheryl Musgrave, and it was only negative on Cheryl. Now, it was saying that Cheryl is against growth in Vanderburgh County as a commissioner. It talked about one headline that just simply said that Cheryl Musgrave wants to raise taxes on businesses. And you look at it, well, obviously, oh my gosh, we don't want somebody who's going to raise taxes on businesses here. But I followed the footnote. The footnote said that it was from an Evansville Courier and Press article, what the date was on the article. I went online, I looked at it, I read the article, and it turns out that her raise taxes on businesses was to change the wheel tax in Vanderburgh County, because at that point, the wheel tax was a flat rate charged the same whether you were driving a car or a truck, $25. But the heavier the vehicle, the more it tears up our roads. And Vanderburgh County was cash strapped for the funds to do those roads at the time. So the solution that presents itself is, well, if the big trucks are going to tear the roads up more, we, under state law, Vanderburgh County has the right to increase the tax on those heavier vehicles while leaving your car or SUV the same on the wheel tax. So the headline doesn't completely match up with what the intended action was there. And you'll find that in campaign mailings all the time. It's one of the tricks, the dirty tricks, to look out for it. Don't fall for it. Vote for the person, vote for their integrity, and vote for what they've done and what they're going to do, but not based on some negative mailer that you received in the past week. Online, oh my gosh, online, there's all kinds, that's the great liar's playground is online. Posts on social media, ads on social media. You're going to see this running of online ads for candidates popping up a bunch between now and election day. And there aren't good fact checkers on all of the stuff that pops up there. You've got to rely on yourself to check on it. Let me give you one example. There was, in the 8th Congressional District, every one of the candidates really, really wants to be able to say that they're endorsed by Donald Trump. So they kind of play on having a relationship with Donald Trump and so on down the line, how close they are and blah, 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 blah. All right. So because they want to portray that, you're going to find more and more ads coming out that might make that connection, right? Recently, about 2 weeks ago, a political action committee posted on social media that one of the candidates for Congress, Mark Messmer, that he had been endorsed by Donald Trump. And then as soon as somebody raised up to say, wait a second, that's false, they yanked the post down. But by the time they yanked it down, it's been seen already by hundreds, maybe thousands of people. The damage is already done by the time that they, take it offline. And so be really careful about what you see. And if you see something pop up online and you see it once, it may have just gotten yanked because there wasn't any truth in it. And you may want to go to that original site to look and see if that post is still there or if it just magically disappeared into thin air. And then on billboards, I'm going to talk about a billboard in particular. That this one is a huge deal as far as I'm concerned. This billboard popped up in Evansville, and billboards like it are popping up around the state. And what they're doing is they're saying, hey, Democrats, you can vote on a Republican ticket this year if you want to. And the idea is that according to the folks who pay for the billboard and the website and so on down the line, they say that what they want to do is try to get more moderate candidates, that they're tired of being kind of overwhelmed by all of this terrible conservatism, and they want a more moderate flow to things. So thereby, they're encouraging Democrats to take on the ballots and cast votes and change the outcome of the primary. Let's talk about this for a second, because the primary, what's the purpose of the primary? Anybody want to raise your hand? Anybody want to volunteer to share with the rest of the class? What is the purpose of the primary? The purpose of the primary is really simple. It is to choose the person who's going to represent your party in the election. And in a lot of states, that's a closed thing. You register, when you register to vote, you register as either a Republican or a Democrat. And then when you go to vote in a primary, you will always get a Republican or a Democrat ballot unless you go and change your voter registration early enough to be able to make the switch and get the other ballot. Right? And what Indiana did, I don't even know when they did this, but a lot of other states have done it too. They went to an open primary system, and the open primary system basically means that you don't have to, you're not registered as a Republican or as a Democrat in the state of Indiana. You're just registered as a voter. And when you walk in the door to go vote, well, that's when you tell them in the voting center, I want a Republican ballot. And they just give you a Republican ballot. You don't have to be registered as a Republican. That's the way that we do it in this state. So if you're a Democrat and you want to vote for Elmer Fudd to become the next congressperson from the 8th District, you can go in and, having always voted Democrat, and say, I want a Republican ballot, and cast your vote for Elmer Fudd. See, gum up the works. And you get enough people to do that, that's the whole idea of this billboard campaign, is so that it's not just a trickle of people, a few here and there. I mean, people have been doing this for a long time. But instead of just that trickle of people doing it, they're looking for a landslide. They're looking for the masses to come in and switch parties just for the primary so that they can select a candidate that is not appealing to the majority of people in the Republican Party. And what happens then? The Republicans wind up with a weaker candidate running in the general election, improves the chances that maybe the Democrats would win that seat. This billboard is infuriating because it is the wrong spirit of things. We have a two-party system, and you have third and fourth parties that are out there, but the mainstream falls into one of the two, Republican or Democrat. And it's really an internal thing for Republicans to make the decision on who they want to run for governor. You know, see, in the primary, we're not picking our governor, we're picking our candidate. That's the difference. That's what we've got to understand. We're choosing who we think is going to run the strongest in this race. And to have this target out there now for people to shop and change their party affiliation, or to just ask for the different ballot in the case of a state like Indiana, then oh my gosh, it changes the entire game. So it's really one of those things where we've got to somewhere down the road address this, that as a state, because the primary being for the party is basically, it's a big convention. See, you know, the convention decides certain things. We decide certain candidates at the convention in Indianapolis in June, when all of the convention delegates to get together there. That's a closed party thing. And technically, that's what the primary is. It's a party activity, not it's not the election of that puts a person into the seat. It's determining who's going to run. It's determining who the candidate is going to be. And we've got to get that straight and fixed. These billboards are just absolutely insane. And I really hate seeing these billboards popping up all over the place. And we're not going to do anything about it this year other than getting out to vote. If you're a Republican, go and vote. Cast your vote. If you're a Democrat, get a Democrat ballot and cast your vote. I will always say that. In my years of voting, first vote I cast in a presidential primary was for Ronald Reagan. This was when Ronald Reagan was running against Gerald Ford in 1976, and Reagan lost to Ford. But that was my first presidential ballot cast. And I have never taken a Democrat ballot in a primary. Never. In all those years. When I vote in a primary, it's always with my party that I align with the most. And then in the general election, I don't allow myself to vote straight ticket. I want to look at every name, and I want to, and maybe there's somebody on any other party that I think is going to do a better job than the guy from my party. In that case, I'll vote for them. Because it's not about party, it's about effectiveness, character, and how that person is going to lead our community and our nation into the future. All right? So I'm urging you, plan to vote either in the early voting process once you've learned enough about the candidates, or vote on election day, and vote within your own party so that we have a fair and equitable general election that comes out of this primary process. All right, that's the end of the rant for now. I'm Johnny Kincaid. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, do all those things. Share a comment with us. We love seeing your comments on these videos. And then subscribe so that you don't miss another episode. We'll be back again soon with some of the candidates. Gubernatorial candidates are on the way on This Week in Evansville.